Hi everybody, I'm Charlie, and this is On Air, my Beatles collection. Back in 2013, Calderstone Productions, which holds the copyrights to many Beatles songs, created a list of 59 songs that they wanted to copyright protect that were all 1963 recordings. And lo and behold, on December 17th, 2013, a virtual album showed up on Apple Music and other places, which was this 59 track set of Beatles songs that are all variations on songs that were released or songs that they wrote and never actually released under their own name. I'm looking at the last two tracks, Bad to Me and I'm in Love. A couple of great songs. Beatles never released those, never recorded those. I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember if they're on any BBC, legit BBC releases. But anyway, this playlist, if you will, or this virtual album, called the Beatles Bootleg Recordings 1963, has been on. I have an Apple Music account. I have an Amazon Music account. It has been on my Apple Music account for 12 years. I heard people recently saying, gee, some of this stuff just comes and goes and it just vanishes. And, it's out there once just for copyright protection. In other words, they release stuff that they thought might have future value maybe on a special, super deluxe box like we're getting now for some things. For whatever reason, they decided back in 2013 they wanted to preserve these alternate takes and these other tracks that were never actually released. So they put them all out right at the end of 1963, and in essence, that renews their copyright life and gives them the opportunity later on to do something. So I've enjoyed streaming it from time to time, but I wanted to show you something that, of course, the bootleggers always get it better than the record companies do, for whatever reason. I know technically this is not a bootleg. I guess it's a pirate because this stuff was released virtually for streaming purposes. But I have it also in a box set. I want to show you that. This is the box. So this is Beatles Bootleg Recordings, 1963. And as you can see close up, there's only 500 of these in existence. This is number 146. And there's 4 LPs to cover the 59 songs. And there's 2 CDs, which is enough CD space to cover. This is on the Sapple label. This is what the back looks like. A little shiny. I'll try to tilt it so you don't get as much shine. Anyway, so I'll show you what it looks like on the inside. First thing is, there's a card. It doesn't really qualify as a booklet. That's what the front looks like. The back is the track list again. And the inside, it's a bunch of print that talks about this box, and it talks about the whole copywriting business. So the first paragraph is European copyright laws lead to rare music releases. And then there's another one say, early reports say the new Beatles Bootleg Recordings 1963 release is a major upgrade. And there's another story that says Beatles 1963 Bootleg Recordings get first official release. Of course, that was for streaming purposes. And so that's what it is. It's a bunch of different stories that were written about these recordings. And I'm not going to read them all to you. The next thing you see inside the box is a tray with the 2 CDs. So that's what the CDs look like. They're on a little spindle in there. And there's a little opening there to pull up the CD. So again, there's 59 tracks. So I believe it's, it's around 2 hours, so they fit a little over 2 hours worth of music. Actually, I'll tell you in a minute. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes, actually. So let's look at the 4 LPs. These are not just vinyl, they are color vinyl. And of course I started with right in the middle, so I got side 6 here. See, it's a red marbleized vinyl. Doesn't have track lists or, anything, or, the authors or any of that kind of stuff like you often find. So that's one of the albums. Here is side 8 and 7. This is more of a red. There's a little bit of marbling in it, but not a whole lot of marbling. But and it's not really translucent. You can't see my face through there. Those that know me and have heard me on here many times say it, I'm a sucker for box sets. I'm a sucker for color vinyl. And this is a twofer in that sense. Plus, you get all the music on the CDs. Plus, it's already on streaming anyway, and it's still on streaming after all these years. This should have been the first one. This is side 1. And this is kind of a burgundy or blood color. And also a little marbleized, a little black running through it. And it's also not really translucent. And last but not least is side 3 and 4. This one is more of a orange, or might say tangerine, not sure. These are beautiful, beautifully done, nice colors. They sound good. I assume that they were taken directly digitally from the Apple Music or whatever, from a streaming source, and so they I'm sure they're digital transfers in that respect. They're not analog, of course, but they're pretty darn good. These have only been played once. I have the streaming and I have the CDs, so why mess up the vinyl? But I do love this box set. It's in the style. There's a bunch of other boxes I've shown on previous episodes here, called the Real Alternate something, the Real Alternate Rubber Soul, the Real Alternate Revolver, that sort of thing. And they are exactly in the same style. They always have CDs. They sometimes also have a DVD. And they almost always have color vinyl. So they have enough color vinyl, whatever number of LPs it takes to cover all the songs, and then whatever number of CDs it takes. So, sometimes it's 5 LPs, even 6 LPs. Sometimes there's 2, sometimes there's 3 CDs. In any case, I love these box sets. I have a bunch of them. I have the Red and Blue album. I have Revolver. I have Rubber Soul. I have With the Beatles. I have Magical Mystery Tour. I have Yesterday and Today. So there's a few that I haven't found yet. They're quite expensive. They're all limited to 300, 400, or 500 copies. On the Red and Blue, I have a very low number. I have number 74, and each one is number 74. So they came as a set. This one is number 146 of 500. I believe the Red and Blue is only 300. So anyway, I may do some of those real alternate boxes, another video where I focus on one at a time. It was a bit of an overload to try to do them all. I also have the Beatles in Italy in a similar box set. Of course, the Beatles in Italy appeared to be a live album, but it wasn't a live album. It really was just commemorating the fact that the Beatles were in Italy, and they did concerts in Italy, but that is not what's in the Beatles in Italy. It's just, it's a compilation of Beatles songs commemorating the fact that they were in Italy. Anyway, I have a box very similar to this one for that. And of course, I have all the Giles Martin Super Deluxe boxes and all that stuff too. But I won't show those here because everybody kind of either has those or they've at least they've seen unboxing videos or whatever. I mean, it's normal commercial stuff. Um, I'll show it from time to time just to show that I have a wide variety of stuff. I have the black stereo box and the white mono box and all that stuff. But it's a little bit old news now from a collector's point of view. You either have it or you don't. If you have it, you already know what's in there. If you don't have it, you still probably know what's in there. You just didn't have a need for it or didn't want to spend the money for it. But these sample boxes and these real alternate boxes are really something special. They're very hard to find. They're usually several $100s a box. Minimum 200, and sometimes as much as 400 or 500, depending upon the source, depending upon the number, depending upon the condition, that sort of thing. And you only see them every once in a while. They're not on, they're not for sale on Discogs because they're, technically they're considered unofficial, bootlegs, pirates, whatever you want to call it. So anyway, I hunt them down, and when I see them, if they're anywhere near a reasonable price, I pull the trigger because I know if I come back the next day, they won't be there. They sell fast. There's no distributor for these things. It's just collectors that decide, I've had it long enough. I need the money, whatever. So they might sell it off, and chances are that's where you're going to get it. You're going to get it on eBay or Etsy or someplace where somebody has one or more of them, and they decide they'd rather have the money. So, you can't fault anybody for that. If you've had it, a lot of people, will burn it. If it's just vinyl, they'll burn it onto a CD and they consider it done. I like the physical product. I like to touch it. To me, it's a tactile experience. I miss the days when everything was vinyl and every album was 12 by 12, and it had liner notes and inserts and posters and all kinds of good stuff. We lost all that with CDs for the most part. There's been a vinyl, rebirth in the last, 10 or 15 years. But, vinyl will never be what it was, back in the day. And there's a lot of very limited edition stuff. Of course, there's a lot of color vinyl now. We didn't have too much of that in those days. So, there's a lot of interesting stuff. But anyway, I just wanted to show you this one today. I think it's a great one. If you see one and you have the money, pull the trigger. That the stuff is great. I didn't go through all the tracks, but you can easily look on Spotify or Apple Music or someplace, and you can see what the 59 tracks are. Most of it is either outtakes from the studio. There's some BBC stuff in here. Saturday Club, live at the BBC. I'm just scanning it fast. A lot of more Saturday Club. And then then there's some studio stuff that never made it onto BBC. There's also Pop Goes the Beatles, which obviously is BBC. Yeah, that's about it. There's Side by Side. There's another radio program. Yeah. So anyway, there's a lot of that stuff, but it's great. There's 59 tracks. There's 8 sides of vinyl and 2 CDs. And that's it for today. So thanks for stopping by. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up. If you're not yet a subscriber, please hit the subscribe button too. That'd be great. And if you have any comments or thoughts or questions, or if you know something about this or any of the other sample releases that you want to mention in the comments, please do that as well. And if you're not a member of my Facebook page, which is also called My Beatles Collection, the YouTube version is on air, My Beatles Collection, but the Facebook page is just My Beatles Collection. There's well over 5,000 members there. It's a private group. The idea is to join there and enjoy other people's collections and then share yours as well if you have one. I usually post things almost every day on there. Excuse me, it's basically still pictures. I do post links there to the YouTube channel. So anytime I put up a new video such as this, I'll also post a link on the Facebook page. But, that's not every day, but usually twice a week I'll do a video. There's well over 100 of them on the channel now that you can go back and research if you're a subscriber. But the Facebook page itself, people post stuff every day and they comment on stuff, or, they'll have something that they just found in the wild and they'll say, hey, does anybody know, how much this is worth? Because I haven't bought it yet. I'm not sure if the price is good. So there's that kind of stuff. There's occasionally bootlegs and box sets and things like that you won't see every day. You may have never seen them. That's kind of my focus here as well. I try to focus on things for the most part that are not common. But anyway, we have some fun over there on the Facebook page. And if you find it and you want to join, there's just a few questions you have to answer. There's a couple of rules. There's no selling allowed there because selling is the #1 source of scams on Facebook. People will take a picture of your collection and then they'll try to sell it as if it were their collection. And, they'll try to do family and friends transactions, cash transactions to get people's money. And then they don't ship the product because they don't have it. It's yours or somebody else's. So I don't allow any selling at all on my page. Occasionally I'll sell something, as the owner of the Facebook page. If I have 2 of something, I might say, hey, does anybody want this second copy? And, I don't do it for big profit. I'm not a flipper. I don't buy things on record store day for $50 and put them on eBay for $300 like a lot of people do. If I wind up with a second thing, either from a gift or because I accidentally bought 2, which I've done many times, I have some close friends that I'll sell to, but I'll do that outside of Facebook. But sometimes I'll do it on Facebook. But obviously I trust myself, and everybody knows where I am if they feel like they've been cheated. So I don't worry about that. But when you have over 5,000 members, you never know who's real and who's fake and who's a bot and who's a scam artist. So I don't let people in if they don't agree to that question, and I screen every post. There's a few members that are pre-approved for the things that they post because they're trusted and they've been members from the very beginning. But almost every other post, has to go through my approval, and I make sure there's no selling involved and there's no sneaky selling, or they just mention something that's for sale, and they want you to private message them about it or something. There's no selling. Period. Anyway, I don't want to get off too much of a rant on Facebook, but I would love to, keep growing the Facebook page as well as the YouTube channel, and have some fun with the collections. There's a lot of stuff out there. You'll never have it all. You can see this room a little bit behind me. I have memorabilia for the most part here. I have vinyl and stuff here. And then in other parts of the room that you can't see, I have tons of collectibles and vinyl. And then I have another side room over here, which is things that are on the wall. Kind of like you see a little bit over my shoulder here. Here's another view. There's a couple of boxes with a bunch of records in it. These are all imports from outside the U.S. These are all picture discs. Those are the original 3 American EPs. There's a Butcher album over there. There's a lot of stuff. So anyway, got a lot of stuff in the room, and I'll be showing it here for as long as I can, and on the Facebook page. So that's it for today. Thanks for stopping by. I hope to see you again. Bye-bye.